Good evening, San Diego. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis, and thank you for tuning in for your CBS 8 Plus weather update. We still have the high surf right along our coastline, and well, it's going to get even bigger. And so that is going to prompt the high surf advisory that goes into effect starting tomorrow. Right now, we are dealing with a beach hazard statement, but of course, we just need to be careful. You're talking about a south swell that's generating this elevated surf. We've had this since last week, and now moving into this week, still seeing that, but it does look to expire tomorrow at 5 p.m. So you have that south swell leading to the elevated surf about 3 to 6 feet, sets up to 7 feet, and it's been highest for those south and southwest facing beaches. That includes wind and sea. We were out there earlier today. Steve Price was out there, and it didn't take a lot of time to start to see people getting rescued in the water. And the lifeguards have been very, very busy. So please, help them out. If you're not a skilled swimmer or surfer, you're not advised to be out in the water during this time frame. It's really dangerous, especially because we also have a high risk of rip currents at our local beaches. Minor tidal overflow will also be possible with this elevated surf, and that's because our high tides in the evening hours are upwards of about 6 feet. That's because we have a full moon taking place tomorrow. So with this elevated surf, you also have the strong rip currents out there, as I mentioned. So know your own limits. If you're not a skilled swimmer or surfer, you're advised to hang back and not even be in the water. Check in with lifeguards, and it's always best to swim near them, especially because they can keep a close watch on you. And if you do get caught, you're advised not to panic. You can yell help so that they can see you, and people around you can also see you and hear you, but you're advised to not panic and swim parallel shore to help get yourself out of that as lifeguards quickly try to get to you to help you out. But for the most part, if you're not a skilled swimmer or surfer, just don't be in the water during this time frame, especially because once we do have the beach hazard statement expiring tomorrow at 5 p.m., then we get to even higher surf. High surf advisory will be in effect from 5 p.m. on Wednesday all the way until 5 p.m. on Saturday. Large breaking waves right there along our coastline, about 5 to 8 feet, sets up to 9 feet, and still the highest right there for those south and southwest facing beaches because of the southerly swell. Strong rip currents will still be present, and right along most of the coastline, you're talking about 3 to 6 feet, especially for the west facing beaches. So that will be the hazard over the next few days. That's also going to be coupled with a continuation of that extra pull, that gravitational pull on our evening high tides because of that full moon tomorrow. So you have that combination, and that's why we're looking at a coastal flood advisory that goes into effect at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, and that's going to last all the way through the late night hours for Friday into Saturday morning. So flooding into parking lots, maybe potentially some road closures, especially because the surf is going to be higher, and flooding would be right here tide as we go through the next few evenings. So just something to be mindful of out there. And everything is happening. Why is it going even higher? That's because of the passage of Genevieve. It is a major hurricane. It's a Category 4 hurricane moving towards the west-northwest at about 9 miles per hour. Maximum sustained wind speeds are at 130 miles per hour. It's at a slow pace right now, but it does look to increase in speed. And as that happens, it would be moving to some much cooler waters. So the latest forecast cone does have it being a tropical storm, and that would be by the early morning hours on Friday, then becoming a post-tropical system by Saturday, maintaining that as a strong area of low pressure, and that would be into Sunday. So once it does interact into those cooler waters and picks up that speed over the next couple of days, that would eventually lead to its demise because it's getting away from that really warm pocket of water that it moved over, allowing it to rapidly intensify over the weekend when it became our first major hurricane of this season for the Eastern Pacific. As mentioned, we have the full buck moon taking place for tomorrow, so that's why we also have that extra pull on our evening high tides, and that is where the coastal flooding comes in. So that is going to reach peak illumination tomorrow morning, and that will be at 7:36, and then you will see that moon rising. That will start at 8:10 for tomorrow evening. So when we look at your overnight lows, lots of 60s are popping up in our forecast, and that's actually near seasonal range, especially for coastal communities. You also have temperatures that are coming down just slightly. We have been above seasonal, well above seasonal for overnight lows as well as those daytime highs. Well, things are kind of changing up a little bit. Still pretty warm for tonight. You have 81 degrees as for Borrego Springs. Average overnight low is about 78 for the desert, so getting closer towards that range, but still coupled with the elevated humidity when you step outside that you're feeling, that's still going to make things not that great. not that comfortable. Then we get to our daytime highs for tomorrow. Lots of 70s still right there along the coast. You still have the widespread 80s across the inland valleys. Had that picking up earlier today with 80s and 90s. 90 degrees expected for Valley Center. That's still a pretty hot temperature, but keep in mind it's also a seasonal one. So 90 degrees expected for the inland valleys, 91 degrees for Ramona. You're seeing that. Valley Center also still warmer than usual. That will be for Julian. You're seeing across the mountains. Palomar closer to seasonal for tomorrow. And then you have 112. So that's a little bit more above seasonal for Borrego Springs. But as I mentioned, temperatures, they're going to get even hotter. So seasonal now, but we were talking about this yesterday. Area of high pressure has shifted more towards the east. That has allowed our temperatures to just slip by a degree or two. Nothing drastic, but it does not put us in a territory of keeping the heat alerts going, at least through tomorrow. But then those heat alerts will be back in our forecast. That starts on Thursday for the mountains and the desert, and then Friday for all areas west of the mountains. That shift back towards the west is going to also bring some of the hottest temperatures so far this year, and that would be favorable for the mountains and the desert in Southern California. So looking at some likely records being broken or tied by this weekend with a peak of that heat expected on Saturday. You have basically the entire county lighting up with those alerts yet again. So it starts on Thursday with the extreme heat warning. That will be for the mountains as well as for the desert. And then you have Friday at 10 a.m. and that will be adding to it the heat advisory for the coast, and then you have the extreme heat warning across the inland valleys. These temperatures will be hot, and as mentioned, the peak of it's going to be on Saturday, and then we have the alerts wrapping up by Sunday. When we look at our extended forecast, you're seeing more red boxes than yesterday. So the reason we had the red boxes yesterday was only because of coastal concerns. Now you're looking at those 80s. So that's also a reflection not just of the high surf advisory and the coastal flood advisory, but also the fact that we now have the heat advisory that's going to be added in for the coast starting on Friday with those 80s back. And then you're back into the upper 70s by next week. You have 80s across the inland valleys. You're back into the 90s by Friday. We hold on to that all the way until Sunday. And then those upper 80s are set to return by next week. Now, it's a little bit of a different story for the mountains and the desert. So as mentioned, hottest temperatures so far this year anticipated on Saturday. That brings in 99 degrees for the mountains by Saturday, but those widespread 90s really getting back to the forecast and going above seasonal on Thursday all the way through Sunday, back into the 1-teens for the desert. That will go strong all the way through about Sunday, at least with alerts as of tonight, because as you can see, once we get past that point for Monday and Tuesday of next week, we're still dealing with a similar range with temperatures, so we could see a continuation of heat alerts for these two microclimates being issued by the National Weather Service in the days ahead. And of course, we'd keep you posted right here. I hope you're having a great night, and thanks for tuning in.